So my name is Meghan Rito, and I am the Education and Outreach Librarian at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine on the Georgia campus. And today we're going to be talking about Cochrane Library. And Cochrane Library is one of those resources where there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's really a great resource. It's going to be an introduction to it. So most of this presentation will be a live demo and showing you the possibilities and the capabilities of Cochrane. So about this workshop, this is part of a series to help you advance your research skills and support your scholarly activities. And there's really two things I want you to be able to do with this session today. So if you are working in the clinical field, I would like you to be able to use Cochrane to identify best treatment plans for patients. If you're working in the research field, or you might be a student, I want you to be able to use Cochrane to identify potential research topics, particularly research gaps. So let's get started with talking about, well, what is the Cochrane Library? So Cochrane Library, or the Cochrane organization, is a registered not-for-profit organization. They do not accept commercial or conflicted funding. And it is a leading resource for systematic reviews in healthcare. So, and what they do is they have series of editing boards, and they will peer review and go through all of the studies that have been out there, and will come up with these Cochrane reviews, and they can keep them updated, and everything's peer reviewed. So the idea is to have the highest standard of up-to-date information for our research. So let's go ahead and get started with our demo. And let's get started. So this is the Cochrane Library website. And there's a few things I want to point out. There is a search bar, and I'll be showing you that later. If you are, particularly if you're a clinician and you just want to keep yourself up to date on a topic, you can set up email alerts. To do so, you will need to create an account, and I'm already signed in, but it's pretty self-explanatory on how to get an account sign up. You go through your library, you go to Cochrane database, and sign up that way. So if you're going to click on a topic, we can set up our email alerts. Oops, I'm sorry. First, you do have to click on set email alerts. And then you can click on, for example, blood disorders, and subscribe to them all. Or if you just want a specific topic, and for example, I have selected allergy prevention, I am set up to have weekly email alerts if Cochrane has updated any topic within this realm. So it's an easy way of keeping yourself up to date on the latest and greatest information. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start with if I am a researcher and I have a topic. So I'm going to say my research topic is, I have a question, is the use of therapy modalities more useful than manual therapies for athletes with lateral ankle sprains? So I almost always break down my searches with a little PICO action. So I'm going to say my population is athletes with lateral ankle sprains. And I'm going to go ahead and just put in ankle sprains here. And I like using this first search bar, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Keep in mind that it defaults to searching by title, abstract, and keyword. If that's not what you want to search, you can always pull it down and do it. You can add search limits if we're only looking for Cochrane reviews. This is where we can limit it. We can limit it by recent publications, Cochrane groups, etc. Just going to go ahead, and you can search this directly, by clicking on Run Search, but I want to be searching multiple terms, so I'm going to send this to my search manager. And when I send it to a search manager, there's a few things to keep in mind that Cochrane automatically, if you're searching from the enter search bar, it does go ahead and search word variations. You can manually go to search manager and type ankle sprains in this case, and I would hit continue. But as you can see, over here is a box which tells me how many results they have found for ankle sprains. Just typing in ankle sprains by itself does not mean word variations have been searched, and it notices as such, and you can see that I have less results, which tells me one of two things. One is that either ankle sprains is not the term, it's not, for example, it might not be the mesh term. So if I'm not finding the results I want, it might mean that I have to go back and search in a different way and find out what search terms I'm actually using or articles are using for the searches. So even when you don't have the results you want, you're still getting results. And the result is that you need to change your search. So I'm going to go ahead and type in therapy modalities, spelling that correctly, sending that to the search bar, and it did. And you can see it's now. I'm going to go back and enter my last, which is manual therapy. Okay, so now I have at least 3 terms that I want to search together, but you can kind of see here that Cochrane actually is searching all of these separately. And the best way to combine our searches is actually to just literally start typing. So one thing you do need to do is you would need to say search number 1 and search number, I'm going to go to 3 and search number 4. And I'm going to search it in 2 ways, and you'll be able to see the difference immediately. So if you just do 1 and 3 and 4, you can do that, but it pulls a huge amount of results. And the reason why is that it's not pulling correctly. If you do pound symbol and pound symbol number 3 and pound symbol number 4 and hit continue, now I have just 6 results. So for whatever reason, when you're searching Cochrane, it is important when combining searches to make sure you're using the pound symbol. So I want to actually see what results I have. So I'm going to click on numbers on our search results here, and it's going to pull it. Okay, so first thing to note is that all results are organized into Cochrane reviews, Cochrane protocol, which is a Cochrane review in progress, but it hasn't been fully verified. And then, of course, we have just trials. Other things to note are our filters. And of course, we can always filter for the last dates, the publishing year, and what source these are being pulled from. So say I want to look at this article. You click on it. And for the trials, Cochrane is going to give you a link to the actual trial. If you want to go to the actual trial, you can do so. And then, of course, open it through your own library. Going back to Cochrane, the trials don't have as much information, but they do at least give you your keywords, your mesh. So if you're having trouble finding an actual review, I always recommend mining your results to see what mesh terms are actually being used to search, and then going back and redoing your search. Because again, my search didn't give me an actual result. So one thing to keep in mind is that I'm either not using the best keywords here, or my search is too specific. And yes, I did this on purpose because if you're a student, this is exactly what students do. So I wanted to recreate the process of this. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go back and make my search a little less specific. Number 1, ankle sprains, and just number 3. And now I have 56 results. And we can see here that now I'm getting an actual Cochrane review, which is great. And I'm going to click on this. Oh, going back really quickly. If you do a search for this and you do see that, hey, there's no Cochrane review, and you're looking at the trials, that's a big hint that there might be a research gap there. So for a researcher, that's a great thing. So I'm always, students or faculty who come up to me like, where is there a research gap? The first thing I say is search Cochrane. And if you can't find exactly what you're looking for, then that's a really good indication that there might be a research gap. But just to demo Cochrane, I do want to show you an actual Cochrane review. So let's go ahead and click on this one for surgical versus conservative treatment for acute injuries. Okay, so a few things to note. Okay, when you're searching in Cochrane, you can, first thing to note is always, when was this last updated? And if you click on version history, it will actually tell you when it was updated originally, what revisions were done. This can be really important because sometimes you can find reviews that there might be a major treatment difference in their conclusion of what they're recommending. So that's always important to know. And if there is a major treatment difference, it will be noted right here. But going back to the top, I'm going to go ahead and click on abstract. Things to note is that one thing I love about Cochrane is that it's summarizing everything in plain language, which just makes everything a lot more accessible, especially if you're just digging into this topic in the beginning. It's going to be telling you very specifically what the conclusions were, but again in that plain language. So everything is broken down in a Cochrane review, and again you can skip if you need to by author's conclusions, background, objective methods, results, and this discussion. Again, the discussion is a really good spot to try and look for a research gap, because a lot of times in the discussion they will say, in this case, we're talking about systematic bias impinging on the validity. So you might need to do more research to make sure see if you can do it without bias, et cetera, et cetera. So again, extremely useful for researchers. If you are looking to refine your search, there is always a keyword bar right here. And again, you can see how they are categorized by keywords. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our search, and now I'm going to switch things up a bit, and I'm going to say that now I'm a clinician, and all I want to know is how to treat chronic ankle instability. So I'm just going to type in ankle instability, because let's be honest, clinicians they tend to have one search. So I'm replicating what you do, and you can see what the potential is right here. So again, I get 3 Cochrane reviews, which is great. One thing you can do, again, you can see that's an intervention, but I can also filter by conclusions changed. So if you are trying to see if the treatment for this has changed and you just want to know really quickly, you can filter by that, which is amazing. And right on the top here, you can actually click on this and it's going to tell you there has been an important change to the conclusion of the review. And when it takes you down here, if you show revisions, it tells you a little bit more about what that is. Okay, so let's see, I talked about filtering. Okay, I'm going to go back to our search terms and talk about two search bars that I haven't talked about yet. So in Cochrane, you can search just by mesh terms, which is awesome. And even more exciting for me, because I love the Pico, is they have a beta version of being able to search in Pico. And again, it is a beta version, but they have the ability. But just because of time limitations, I'm going to stick with just showing mesh really quickly. And if you are interested in the Pico search, maybe we can do that in a secondary session. So not surprisingly, when you're doing, I'm going to type in ankle instability, and it gives me immediate feedback that that is not a mesh term. So great, that still tells me something. But and it passed really quickly, but the articles that I looked at the keywords earlier, I happened to notice what they do use is ankle injury. So if you search that, it takes you, it says, yes, this is a mesh term. And we can search it and we can, the default is actually what it calls exploding all trees. If you don't know what that means, it means that it's going to search both ankle injuries, but also anything that falls under ankle injuries. So it's more than just the single mesh term, it's also similar. If you want to search, no, I really do mean just ankle injuries, you can select that. If you want to explode specific aspects of it, you can also select it. But for the purposes of this search, I'm just going to do a single mesh term, unexploded, and I can, I already have a preview of the results for this. And you can either view the results directly, or you can click on Add to Search Manager. And I'm going to go back and because I'm going to combine ankle injuries with joint instability, because what I want is specifically ankle instability. And again, I just want the single term and add to search manager. And if I want to combine them, it'd be number 8 and number 9. See if I get any results. Okay, I do have results. I have a lot of results. So that can be a good thing, and it can be a bad thing, depending on what you're searching for. And obviously with this search, if I wanted to narrow it down, I would then have to add in my other search terms. But you can see the purpose of this was to show you how to add mesh. One other thing to note is, as you can see, I have all of my search terms and they just keep on multiplying. In one session, Cochrane does not delete anything, it saves everything. You can either delete things by clicking on the minus sign to remove a search line, or you can clear everything. Keep in mind that if you do that, subsequent lines are renumbered and all reference lines are updated to reflect this change, which is a good thing, because in this case, if you noticed, number 2 is gone and I was using number 3. Well, now number 3 is number 2. So when I'm using pound signs, those are updated. But as you can see here, this is an isolated search because it doesn't have the pound sign and it was not updated. Okay. Let's see. I'm actually doing pretty good on time. I intended my search to cover about 25 minutes, and I'm right at 21 minutes. Does anyone have any questions about Cochrane?
Hi, Megan. This is Joanne from California Health Sciences University. I have one question about MESH. When you use MESH, will that then not provide you with the results from some of those other databases that were listed in the left-hand column? So, for example, MBase and CINAHL. Might that be a disadvantage of using the MESH, that you wouldn't get the results from those additional databases?
So, you can still get results from other databases. In fact, you can filter by them. One thing to note about Cochrane is that a Cochrane, actually this particular one is just, it doesn't have any Cochrane reviews. So a Cochrane review is actually published by Cochrane. So you don't have to go to, for example, MBase for them. But the MESH searching terms are integrated with the other, with MBase, with PubMed. Did that answer your question?
Thank you. Now I see that it does list the different databases that they're coming from. So that
Right.
is helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Really, the one takeaway I would have with Cochrane is that if you can find resource on Cochrane, know that it has gone through a peer-reviewed editorial board. So pretty much anything you can find on it, I would trust. Any other questions? Okay, well, if there are no questions, I'm going to stop screen sharing. And I want to thank everyone for coming today. I hope you have as much fun with Cochrane as I do. I think it's a wonderful resource. And if you have any questions about it, you are welcome to email me with questions. Let me put my email in the chat here. Okay. Oh, one more thing. Let me share my screen again. I want to go ahead and mention that we do have a feedback survey, and if you can please fill it out, let me know how I did, let me know what other topics you would like to see. We do have our next session scheduled, and it will be on open access on June the 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do have a registration link right here. Cochrane, it additionally has its own library training hub. So if you are looking to do your own training, they have a lot of great resources right there. And that was everything else I wanted to share. So please sign up for the open access. I think it's going to be a great session. I hope everyone has a great day.